have started hearing the acronym OCI as you're in school and you are not totally sure if it's something that you even need to be worried about at this point, or really even what it even stands for, I'll let you in on a little hint. OCI stands for on-campus interviews, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you're new, my name is Alice Foley, and I'm an associate law school consultant with Montgomery Admissions Consulting. I come to this work with almost a decade of law school admissions experience, and honestly, at this point, I have seen pretty much all there is to see. Most important for today is that over my time working in law schools, I have seen many cycles of on-campus interviews. I even participated when I was in law school, so I know what I'm talking about today. We're going to go over 3 main points that I think will help you get comfortable, get ready, so when OCI rolls around for the 1Ls, like you'll be ready to go. So I'm going to start with reminding you to take advantage of what you've got. You have a whole law school there for you. You also have everything that you brought to law school, everything you had beforehand. So first, this one's pretty obvious. Hopefully you found them by now. You should talk to your career services office. They will more than likely be hosting workshops. They're going to help you learn what OCI is, how to handle it, what you should be wearing, what your resume should look like. They should be walking you through all of that. They may even have mock interviews, which is great. The other places that you can start looking for assistance, getting really dialed in to, is this a firm I want to work for? Do I think I want to look outside OCI? All of those questions can be answered by a variety of people, and they're all people that you already have in your network. So first, career services office. Next, think about who it is you know already. What family friends do you have? What friends of friends do you have? I mean, honestly, you have LinkedIn, you have the internet. Start reaching out. If there's someone who does what you think you may want to do, send them a message. Be polite. Be prepared not to hear anything back for a bit, but reach out. The worst that can happen is that they say no. The best thing that could happen is, 1, they could be looking for a legal intern and there you are. 2, if it's somebody local, they may be one of the firms. They may work for one of the companies that comes to your school for on-campus interviews. And you've already got your foot in the door. They may not be doing the interview, but you've got a connection before everything even starts, which is always nice. The other thing is, think about your professors. Think about the school administrators. Think about the people that you've met in the law school thus far. You've got everyone that you brought with you, but you've also met this brand new set of people. You've got a whole host of faculty members who may or may not have been practicing attorneys at one point, but I'm willing to bet they had a class full of probably mostly practicing attorneys when they were in law school. They keep in touch with their classmates just like you are doing right now with your friends from college. They may know somebody that does what it is you want to do. They may do what it is you want to do. They may have done what it is that you are interested in doing. So reach out to them. And I'll tell you what, speaking from experience, faculty members love to talk about their subject areas. They are so excited when someone approaches them that is also excited about the interest area, about the topic that they are working on, that they teach you. It's so much fun to listen to them, to learn what they have already learned in their years of practice, their years of scholarship. If depending on the relationship, talk to them about what it was like for them in law school. You have this great group of people that are more than willing to help. They liked you enough to let you into the law school. They're certainly going to be helping you after you get there. The other place that you should probably look also are those non-faculty positions. You've got a whole bunch of other people working in the law school that do a variety of things. Whether it's people like me who worked in admissions, folks in student life, folks that work in academic success, the career services office, an alumni or a development office, all of these people know other people. So even if they may not be completely on brand with what it is that you're looking for, they might know somebody and they're going to be willing to help you, as long as you're nice when you ask. The last thing that I want to remind you about when you're looking through all of the things that you already have as we're getting ready for on-campus interviews is remember what makes you you. If you came to law school with your heart set on big law and doing mergers and acquisitions in New York City or Los Angeles, remember what it is that made you want to do that. Make sure that you're still tapped into being you. Don't put on some brand new personality. It gets really tiring, amongst other things. You have a lot to offer. The admissions folks saw it. I always come back to that because that's what I know the best. But they saw it. Your faculty members have seen it. Remember what makes you you. If you have a tattoo, this is just a little asterisk for later. If you've got a tattoo that shows up when you're wearing business professional, don't panic. The legal field is still fairly conservative, small c, conservative. So they're going to want to see you in a suit. But that doesn't mean you can't still be you. If you are comfortable in that, if you are settled into that, and you are bringing your authentic self to on-campus interviews, that's all the better. Because if I'm going to be really honest with you, I don't want a fake person if I'm looking to hire a summer associate. I want someone that is going to mesh with my firm. I want somebody who knows who they are. So remember that that is there too. You're bringing stuff to the table that you aren't picking up in the classroom, that you haven't learned in the last semester. There is so much more to you than just what you're learning in the classroom, and that still matters. So make sure that you're remembering to touch on that, remembering to think through the things that make you, you. If you're doing what I typically do when someone is like, I need you to think about this particular thing in relation to yourself, I completely go blank. I have no idea. Nothing has ever happened to me in my life. I have no characteristics. Nothing has ever happened. If you're in that position, give yourself a minute. Usually it comes out. But also, like I said, talk to your network. This may be not necessarily your faculty members, but it could be your friends. It could be your classmates. I know you all haven't known each other for very long on the whole, but you're spending a lot of time together. So they probably have a pretty good idea of who you are, assuming you're bringing your authentic self to law school. Because truly that comes through. If someone has been doing interviews for a long time, and I've said this about personal statements and essays, by the time you've read as many as I have read, you can tell when the story isn't quite on point. You can tell when someone's trying to build them up as something that they are not, which quite frankly is silly. You are bringing so much good to the table, exactly the way that you are, with all of the legal knowledge that you have picked up and that you're going to pick up for the rest of the year before you start your summer associate. You want to bring that with you. Make sure that you know what it is that you are bringing to that table. The next one, and this is a really, really, really important piece. I can guarantee you somebody else is going to tell you to do this, but I cannot stress enough how important it is. I need you to do your research. I talked a little bit about chatting to your networks, figuring out what it is you want to do, listening to what they have to say about the area, all of that. But I want to make sure that you are doing research on your own too. There are plenty of databases, of places where you can find this information. Quick star on law firm websites, those don't always get updated super quickly, so don't rely on just the law firm website. Back it up with something else like Martindale or one of the other legal search databases that you will have access to as a student. But first things first, take a look at the firms that are coming to your school or the organizations that are coming to your school. Who is going to be there for you to interview with potentially? Look at what they do. Look at what their values are. Don't just look at the practice areas. That's important, don't get me wrong. Again, if you want to do transactional law, I don't want you going into a litigation firm. That seems ridiculous. But take a look at what makes the firm up, what the culture is. See where you can find that. Give an associate or the firm's business page a follow on Facebook if they've got one, on LinkedIn if they've got one. So you can keep an eye on it because you're going to have a bit of a lead time. You're going to have a chance to do all of this stuff because most of the time on-campus interviews for first years aren't even going to happen until after Christmas, after that semester break, as soon as you get back and start into your spring semester. So you have the holidays. I know that probably doesn't sound like the most fun thing to do, but it's worth it, I promise. Once you've got an idea of what the firms are like, what their practice areas are, what the culture is like, what their values are, now it's time to take a look at your interviewers. Most places are going to make this information available at least a week or 3 before interviews actually start. So you have the chance to look at who's going to be in that room with you. See if there is shared interests. See, did they graduate from the school that you're at? Did they go to the college that you went to? Are they part of some community organization that you have a tie to? See where those connections exist. If they don't exist, that's okay. You are not disadvantaged, I promise. Don't panic, particularly if you're in, law school halfway across the country or all the way across the country. You may not have that local settled connection. That's okay. It still means that you should look them up, though. See what the things that they're showing up that they are posting about, that they are putting out scholarship on. What's the last conference that they spoke at? What was their topic? See who it is that's going to be in that room with you. The next thing kind of ties into the last thing I was talking about when I mentioned to make sure that you're leveraging your network. I want you to be doing some research on yourself, too. The really easy one, and at this point, I would hope someone has explained that it's probably a good idea every couple of years or so to throw your name into Google. See what comes up. take a look at what your social media has looked like lately. Oftentimes, this does not make or break a job decision, just like it would not make or break an admissions decision. But if your social media presence is a little less than professional, I'm not saying stop it. I'm not saying change it. You can if you want to. Always a good advice. But you don't have to. You just gotta lock it down. If your privacy settings aren't tight yet, tighten them up. Because what's happening is just like you are researching those firms and your interviewers, they're going to be looking you up too. It may not come till after the interview, but you best believe they're going to look you up. Other thing that I want to make sure that you are doing in this that's a little less obvious when I say research yourself is I want you to be digging deep. I said bring your authentic self. What are the things that make you you? What are the things that you're doing outside of law school? What are your hobbies? What is some unique skill? Particularly if it shows up on your resume, they may ask about it. So you want to make sure that you have thought about it. So if you have, to use the old phrase, underwater basket weaving as a skill or interest on your resume, they may ask you to tell them a little bit more about how you got into that. Or if you want a particularly neat award, make sure that you can tell that story. Remember the things that are neat about you. And again, like I said earlier, if you have immediately gone blank as soon as I ask that question, give it a minute. It'll come back, I promise. Or at least it has for me thus far. Now, the last piece, critical. You will hear this from your career services office. If they do not tell you this, I have other questions that we will deal with later. You must practice. I don't care how many job interviews you have done. I don't care how comfortable you are talking in front of people, talking with strangers, talking with people you don't know, making small talk, that networking stuff. I don't care how good at it you think you are. You should still practice. Make sure that you're practicing not just with your mirror or not just with a camera like what I'm doing right now. Make sure that you are practicing with other humans. I mean, if you want to start out with pets or something like that, cool, great. But they're not going to give you super great feedback. So after you're through that, it's time to talk to your friends. Honestly, if you've got friends that are also going through on-campus interviews, it's a great thing for you both. Swap turns. Somebody be an interviewer, somebody be the person being interviewed. And then switch. If they ask you a super hard question, keep it in the back of your mind, and then you can turn around and ask it to them and see how they do with it. But these are going to give you the chance to get comfortable answering the questions. So you're not stuck. Now, a little silence as you compose yourself is fine. But if you're stuck thinking for a minute or 2 minutes, that is eating up a lot of valuable time because on-campus interviews, particularly first-round interviews, are not that long. You do not have a ton of time to make a good impression with those interviewers and with that firm or with that organization. The other thing I mentioned, if your friends are tripping you up, they ask you a kind of off-the-wall question, that's great. It's wonderful to practice with those oddball things, but make sure that you are practicing with the normal questions that you're going to be asked. Honestly, there's probably a list of them somewhere on the internet. Your career services office may even have a set list of questions that most firms are going to ask. Make sure you know the answers to those questions like that. You don't want to spend time thinking through, composing what you're going to say if you already know what it is you're going to say. Make sure you can get it out in a clear and concise way, in an engaging way. So they're not just looking at a robot human. Emotion is good. Inflection is good. I know it's a stressful situation sometimes. It's important. There's a lot riding on on-campus interviews for some students. But again, they are still humans sitting across the table from you, and they want to engage with you as a human. Practice, even if it's just the ordinary job interview questions. Why did you want to work here? What was your favorite thing about the last semester? What's your best skill? What do you think you're going to bring to the table for us? What is your biggest weakness in a job or workplace setting? That's a good one to know the answer to, because there are a lot of ways for you to sound kind of disingenuous when you answer it. Think through how you will answer questions like that. It's going to be really helpful. It's going to make things flow a lot more smoothly. Make sure that you are practicing that. Again, not just in front of the mirror. Practice with your friends. The other thing is career services may well set up mock interviews for you. If that's a thing that's happening on your campus, please take advantage. If your career services office doesn't do it, if you're attached to a larger university system, see if the main campus one does it, particularly if they have other graduate or professional school programs. You may be able to call up the probably larger career services office at main campus, and just ask them if they can set aside time for a mock interview. Tell them you're a law student, explain what you can, give them as much background information as you think you need to set it up, but reach out there. Or if your career services office in the law school is doing it, but they're already booked up, next time be faster. But also remember that there's a bigger university out there that you are still a part of. So use those resources that are there if you are looking for ways to practice with people who, their whole job is to make sure that you are ready to get a job. They are preparing you to enter the workforce. They are preparing you for your career. They're making sure that they are teaching you the skills that you're not learning in the classroom, so you will be successful in this. It is their job. Let them help you. They are likely not doing it because they don't want to help you. The other thing that I want to make sure that you are practicing is, I touched on it a little earlier, if there's like a fun off-the-wall hobby that you have and it has made its way to really anything that the interviewers are going to see, make sure you are prepared to talk about it if they ask you. Make sure that you are telling the truth when you talk about whatever it is. Lies are not your friend. They never are. Make sure that you have thought through how you will talk about the things that make you you. Because again, like I said at the very beginning, these are humans. They want your authentic self, because just as much as you are trying to impress them so they will let you join their firm for the summer, for whenever, for the whole thing. They may keep you every summer that you're in law school and give you a full-time job at the end of it. That happens. Some firms don't do it that way, but there are many that do. And if this is a place that you could see yourself working for the next 3 to 5 years, you want to be sure that it's a good fit outside of just the work. And being able to talk about yourself and not sound like you're stumbling over things, that not sound like you have not given any kind of thought to what it is that makes you you, is going to be really helpful. That's a lot of things, but hopefully you've learned something that is going to be valuable. And so we started with take advantage of what you've got. Remember who is near you, what is in your network that you can utilize. Do your research. Make sure that you are looking up things about the firms, about the interviewers, about you. Make sure you're looking at all of that before you walk into the room for that interview. And the last thing is practice. Do not just do this on the fly. Make sure that you have thought through how this will go and that you are ready to bring the absolute best of you, the authentic you, but the absolute best parts of that to this interview. I hope this has been helpful. If you take nothing away, at least go talk to your career services office. If you take nothing else away, do that. But if you have found it helpful and you think you may know somebody that would also benefit, share it with them. If you think this has been super helpful and you want to keep up with us, like and subscribe down below. And if you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments. Let us know. Talk soon.